Good morning, fellow Bitcoiners. Today's talk is going to be a little bit more sciencey, the science that we can apply in our environment. It's the kind of stuff I love learning about. So even if something's a little above my head, that's where I like to lean in and just learn something. I love science, and I hope you do too. As a Bitcoiner, many of us do. John is with me. He is the founder and owner of hashing2heating.com, a company that focuses on integrating Bitcoin mining with home or building heating systems to capture heat, heat that could otherwise be easily wasted, putting the heat to practical uses, things like heating air, water, even cooling setups. It allows people to utilize the energy that's going into environments that keep you comfortable and things we need anyway, but you could hash and earn Bitcoin when you do so. John has an academic background in environmental science, nearly 2 decades working in home energy, custom home building, and in the industrial sector as well. He has hands-on experience with heat exchange and fluid systems and heat recovery. He emphasizes simplicity, having simple systems, plug-and-play formats, curating best practices, and making home hashing accessible. So you can easily start. If you go to his website, you can get a 30-minute consultation to discuss potential designs, ideas for how to heat things and earn Bitcoin. Welcome, John. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Fritz, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. And great that you reached out and everything. And that's probably the best summary and the best intro to hashing to heating I've heard. So
awesome.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. It's winter time, and in the winter, I work and live in environments. My office is not that efficient. It's this big, just concrete building with old kind of retrofitted HVAC stuff. And so various offices have odd temperatures, cold temperatures. Every time I walk around and I see a little space heater running because someone's feet are cold or something, I don't know, you probably experienced this kind of cringe factor where you see space heaters here or there, or just things that are just making localized electrical heat. And it's like just kind of a waste, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, anything that's, if you want to we're going to start on the technical, right? So resistance heat. I love to come back to super small building blocks. I'm a building performance specialist, which is kind of like breaks it down to 3 things that are always happening in the environment, to all things like law of thermodynamics type stuff. Mm-hmm. Also, defining terminology is really important, because in our day and age, right, everything is like, whoa, efficiency. What's this word? It's like same as inflation, same as whatever. If you can't get the basic of the definition of the word, you can't get into a discussion, and then you can't really compare apples to apples or say,
you say money. Well, what is money?
Sure. My guy said the heat pump is more efficient. Well, sure, until below a certain temperature. Well, they have a different one that's available for that. Sure, it's $8,000 more. Well, I'm going, how long are you going to live there? Do you want to just plug a thing in that's so many computations, and then people's eyes glaze over in 5 minutes. They don't have time, so they go, tell me the answer. And you're like, you don't know what a radiator is. Yeah, I did. Do you know what it's not like to be argumentative. It's just more like, can we get a starting point of like this is a space heater. So any space heater on Earth that you pretty much buy is going to be resistance, plugs in, turns that little metal thing called a heat sink hot, and a little fan runs, just like old miners did. So that was, all the light bulbs in our old days was, super hot. What do I know about this thing? It's loud, noisy, makes a ton of heat. Oh, well, if we could get rid of the noise and take the heat somewhere, what could we do? There you go. So, but it wasn't me. It was our friend Satoshi. So I'm going to read.
Yes.
So I'm going to read the quote from way back when he was talking in some of the emails. It's all there. The heat from your computer is not wasted. If you need to heat your home, if you're using electric heat where you live, then your computer's heat isn't a waste.
Yeah, I got you.
Whatever. Satoshi.
Thank you, Satoshi.
Chapter 7, verse 12, whatever, so you're like, right? So then you're like, okay, then, all the million little memes and things that we'd made up in our groups over time where you're like,
sure.
I need, the office needs to tell you what's the difference between these two pictures. They're the same resistance heater. The thing plugged into your wall, or the thing that you have a fan running or white radiator in your basement, no different. Then you go, well, yeah, here's another thing. It's called a heat pump. Literally by its name, it takes heat and moves it around. Okay, you can never go. Now we're getting back and forth between building science, 3 laws of nature, reality. You can never create cold. You can remove heat. Okay. Hot moves to cold to equilibrate between the two. Whatever is in between is insulation or resistance or R value of transfer. Quick building, all these lessons in 5 minutes, right? But it's like hot moves to cold, wet moves to dry, high pressure moves to low.
Right.
You can get things into your brain. You can look at anything on earth and you can figure out what's going on with it. Oh, my house is rotting out. Well, you put all the landscaping up to where the wood is. Now now wet is moving to dry. Stop that. No more wet is moving to dry. Your wood's not rotting. Oh, my thing rained down on my windowsill. Wet moved to dry. It's super cold in my house. Well, I poked up in your attic and I looked and there was 70 feet that didn't have any insulation. Hot is moving to cold. It can't go the other way. So you have to make a refrigerator is a small heat pump. Takes the heat from inside and throws it into your room. It's moving heat. So your other heat pump is doing the same. And in the winter, it reverses and it cools the outside.
Right.
It takes the heat from the outside, throws it inside. It's doing the air conditioning in reverse. You don't notice it's outside, but it's taking whatever little molecules of heat are left through the technology that has a big upfront cost and an ROI of itself and a refrigerant and charge the refrigerant and service and blah 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 over time. So you got to look
compressor.
Yeah. Compressor goes out, whatever it is. My thing's 12 years old. I got to get a new one, 16 years old. Any technology, any heating system, all these things apply to all that universally, kind of, right? So then we enter the miners into the equation. Okay, yes, it's less efficient use of the electricity, but it's 100% transference of electricity to heat, like a radiator. This other thing is better, but it costs more upfront, and it only works in certain weather conditions really good. Other ones, So maybe you supplement it. I have a hot water heater that's gas. I don't want to reinstall, but I could put a standalone tank next to it and preheat all my water with electricity with the miners. Send that into the gas tank. It never fires. Now you've saved your gas. So that's what kind of like what you're saying in the intro. Everyone wants a single silver. There's a phrase from building science. There's no silver bullet. There's a million silver BBs.
Right.
There's
no one solution, but there's 10,000 ways to chip at it.
You're building 4 new custom homes. Great. Start from the beginning. Let's design something. You're trying to retrofit an old cabin from whatever, and you have solar that runs this many out. Okay, well, there's a thing that you can do there, but it's not going to do your hot tub and everything you want, right? Like,
right.
Battery backup on your house, solar goes down, runs the things for so many hours. That's all that energy can only do whatever it is. So yeah, that's kind of like what we're faced with. Yeah, in this whole.
Yeah, we're familiar with like gravity. Okay, the law of gravity, but there are natural laws, like you said. Heat seeking cold, wet seeking dry, high pressure seeking. So you can leverage these mechanical systems in our nature, when we do all the time, to our advantage. And now you had one of your basic ASIC kits here. I just throw it up here. This is kind of like. This is one approach to okay, here's one kind of plug and play simple system you came up with some years ago. So this is one approach, correct?
Yeah, and that's funny and fun that you found that one. And that's just a good example of kind of like what is this? What is hashing to heating, or what it's everything all at once, right? It's if you go there's going to be Bitcoin education, there's going to be home hashing, there's going to be stuff to buy, there's going to be all that, but there's also, it's kind of like the portal to jump off for anybody. And it's gone from the initial was like, we need a big list of all the people that were doing all these things, and now the big list of plebs is gone, unfortunately, from the new revision. But it's like, it wasn't going to be a hub database. It was this. It was a place where we had all the articles and all the things instead of like trying to cut and paste and reply to somebody. Oh, I've got one about greenhouses. Yeah, one about this. Hard to keep going back and forth, you know, and everyone, the flood of it. So it was like, let's get a central thing. That was the inspiration, you know, like that, you know. And so like that thing that you found on YouTube from Green Candles, I think Brandon's web.
Yeah.
From it was great. So it's like, those were the days for sure of, you know, from day one, I got to give a shout out to a bunch of old guys, remind me of that. But like from day
the original
one,
heat punks.
Yeah. John from Coin Heated, who was doing pools in Minnesota, which is all over, you know, on YouTube as well as my initial inspiration and friend, or to go find miners at my house, using just the regular heat, and then seeing people messing with the immersion and so on. And then like, so there's a whole bunch of people from Zach Baumsta, who went on to do the Loki boards and then all those kind of things, helping every idea that was there was like, oh, we gotta, and this is a perfect example of that video you brought up, right? It was like, well, we have this to control this, and we got rid of the fans and we put in a cool, nicer, different fan that was digitally controlled, and we got the wires to run to here. But now I need somebody to like, oh, there's a part that, you know, why isn't the Loki board talking to this fan, or what? Something, and that's where is not my expertise, right? I'm more like and when I was a general contractor, I was a project manager, right? So it's like bring stuff together, get all the experts, get the thing that's missing, find the, you know, person that can solve that missing, and so on, right? And get something. So this is like a 90% to market product, like anything else. It's open source now, right? It's like, oh, well, somebody wants something at a job site. Well, let's put it in a job box. Let's put it in this. No, let's build a thing that's only the guts that you can now put everywhere else. Oh, I want to put it in a closet in the bed, you know, out of my attic, under my floorboard, whatever. That's kind of that thing. So that's like guts that could be put anywhere.
Yeah, which is like a basic kind of an air warmer of sorts.
Yeah, well, that's just like I said, it's like an engine, let's call it, right? Like this is the basic thing you need to bring air, to cool the miner, to send the hot air back to anywhere. Do you want to put it in an old, you know, record player, or, you know, like an old stereo thing, a big old cool, people were putting them in file cabinet space, you know, anywhere you'd want to have a hidden inlet filter, just like your regular furnace, and an outlet where it's putting the heat back in the room. You could take these guts out of that box and do that. Put it in your cabinet, build it into anything. Living room, whatever you want. So that was like a solution to that kind of thing of, I'm not making a standalone thing. I'm making a thing that everyone could build into something, whatever.
Yeah, this is like the plain burger, but yeah.
It's that was it. This was the burger, and you can design the other parts, but this is the thing that you kind of to get there, okay? And the thing with, you know, the AC affinity fan people and this, and then, but yeah, this whole thing is a push me, pull me. Oh, well, you can get this discount only if you buy this many. Well, I don't know, warehouse to do that. Oh, this other guy's coming out with one anyway. Well, so it's kind of like this roundabout thing, but that thing is essentially Twan's Heat 256 or 256 Heat, who's a dude out of Canada. It's on my page, and, you know, the equipment section, all that. So in the end, it got to be of meeting a whole bunch of people through everybody, you know, because we're all, you know, through the ether, like, well, get rid of the fans, make a quieter thing, do this, do that. As a general rule, we were all pushing towards the same thing, and other people got to different finish lines. I mean, you see the heat bit. Heat bit is basically the things we are making too. And now I'm like an affiliate person with heat bit, right? So back to, I'm only me. Let's get this hub thing going. Let's get this ability to like shoot for the Walmart of hashing to heating, and then go on to develop other things that are surrounding it and that kind of stuff. So it's a mixed bag on all that. But that's a perfect, you know, let this be a lesson to you kids out there, or whatever it is. Honestly, like that's kind of the thing. If I was, you know, I'm not re-justifying any, you know, failures or not failures. It's all positive, and it was all like, if Bitcoin, you know, is more adopted and all this is finally adopted into the world, and Bitcoin continues to go up in value and all, then my job is done, no matter whether I've sold one or not. Like that's, you know, and if somebody like Tyler out there in Denver, oh, my good buddy Tyler, and people, you know, now fog hashing is doing, you know, everything that's, you know, I can remember Kanan writing questionnaires years ago, like, what form factors would you want to see? And like, did my emails, like, going back and forth, actually make them make the radiator? Probably, because there's probably only like 20 of us that wrote about it, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, yeah, you push these things uphill, and then, you know, it's like I was saying in the preview, it's like a little Satoshi-ish vibe. Like, the heating thing is out there on the universe. It's never getting back into the bottle. That genie is out. Every technology is there. Grok, everything knows about it. There's books, there's centers, there's go to the heat, you know, the center of the space in Denver and like actually see it all work. So all the things that like the original nerds were talking about in spaces or whatever are true now. Are self true.
The roots are growing into the system steadily. And you mentioned HeatBit here real quick. I just glanced at them here.
I mean,
is this
filter thing? That was I mean, all of it goes back to that building science. And hey, there's malls everywhere that bring in fresh air 24/7 with fans. Put some ASICs in the duct. Now it's warm air, right? It's like very simple, like ideas of like just place something here, just place something there. And that's essentially why hashing to heating exists, I guess, is to try to, it's that one at the bottom, at the very bottom, I think, or that's
that brings me to your website where, I mean, there's so many directions and things you can do. You have a great library, I would say, where you have resources and education, where you answer a lot of questions for people. It kind of starts from the very beginning and some of the basics and education about it, but then also DIY home hashing. You can go to hashing2heating.com, and you have a ton of resources here. How to get started with Bitcoin mining at home. Now, there's a lot.
Number one, always be safe. You know, safety first, even though it sounds funny, but safety is like, that was one of the things that pulled me in, was the home performance versus, I start in the early days, and you know, ask all those weirdos, but it's like, I would lose my mind about the safety stuff. Cause I'd be like, I was looking and I was like, this is going to, you know, this is going to give Bitcoin a bad name, Bitcoin mining a bad name. Someone's going to get killed. Someone
gets shocked or something.
Well, no, more like, well, let me pull all the air in from my garage to heat in my house. Right over all the petrochemicals, right over all the solvents, right over
gas fumes or exhaust or whatever.
Put this other thing, let me put it into my furnace and push the air through there. But I don't have a closed combustion furnace. I have an open combustion furnace. And when it's in the crawl space of this thing, it's pulling negative pressure on this thing. And now it's going to, like, this is, if you go to BPI, Building Performance Institute, you go through all of this crazy stuff about like negative pressure, high pressure moves to low pressure. You can't have it go the other way. Okay, now imagine you have a closet that has a utilities area in your basement, but it's closed part of your house. And now you have a old hot water heater there, it's 20 years old, and you have your furnace there that's 18 years old. And it's open. They call it open combustion, right? Is like, you can look in and see the flame through whatever it is, like the old days. Now you've got the PVC piped ones, they're modern, you know, they close combustion, and the combustion air and the exhaust comes from outside and goes out. New ones. Old ones, which are everywhere, of course, get the combustion air from the space that they're in. They either have a vent to the outside world, or they draw it from the house, or whatever it is. A lot of times hot. So the building science guy in me starts going, got air infiltrate. Now we need, it all came from, hey, I used to install all these air exchangers in modern big custom homes, which is sucking out the bad air from your bathrooms and kitchens and putting in fresh air 24/7. Air infiltrators. They have them all over Europe. You know, we're just behind in America, but indoor air quality is a huge thing. Sick building syndrome. People die.
Oh, gotcha.
Mold, etc. Why is it? Because, well, the humidity
over years, it's absorbed.
Above this or below this, you get sick. If temperatures are above this or below this, you get sick, or mold or parasite, whatever it is.
Oh, gotcha.
Another science thing. Well, if you shut your house up like a igloo, like a aquarium, igloo cooler, and then you can't get any fresh air in or fresh air out, you're in
I
the
see.
soup inside.
Uh-huh.
We lack indoor, so then you go bring a blower door test and all these scientific-y things, and you say your house is either way leaky or way too tight. If it's way too tight, you got to bring in fresh air. If you're not, so on and on. So those things are always in my brain, like you say, like see everything. Everything's a heater, everything's not, or to produce heat. Yes. So, oh, you're bringing in air from where? You're going to put this thing where and suck the air and put it into your furnace. You're going to do what from where? You don't know anything about building science. Every case is different. Oh, well, I have a thing. It's in my, I don't know. And you see people like pulling, I'm pulling it from my garage. Oh, I'm putting this into my garage. Then I'm putting a fan into my house that goes into my kitchen where my wife is all like, absolutely no. Get this, I don't want to come there and do any tests, but I can tell you from Spidey sense, and I can tell you from building science that, I can just tell you not to do that. So I lose my mind about that stuff. And I was like, somebody's got to be on this from that perspective, I guess. And that's kind of also was the origination of it. Like, even if I don't make it sell anything, whatever, just call me and let me get a video of you in your house and not let you poison yourself or now that thing's pulling 1,500 CFM per minute of air, which in this little closet never had anything evacuated, moving air before. Okay, now where's that air coming from? Now does the duct that's the outside world have enough square inches to provide that incoming air? Oh no, it doesn't. It's gonna pull now from the bottom of that hot water heater when it flames up, and now the flame's coming outside.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they teach you in these, they show you the footage of like, this is how a fire started in New Hampshire when they were running the bath fans at the wrong time of the year. Everyone can shut up in the winter. They call it the Thanksgiving massacre. That's the class.
Oh.
Okay, now grandma's over, she's running the bath fan, you're running the dryer, you're running different things, you're sucking air, but you have all the windows shut up.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to suck milkshake through a straw. Where is that coming from? It's eventually going to pull something the wrong way. You shut a door and you put a little tissue there under the bottom, and all of a sudden you feel air going one way or the other. Well, that's the pressure's moving quickly under that space. Means one side is balanced or the other. That's when people are running around balancing the ducts. So building science goes way down building science rabbit holes.
Uh-huh.
You get all these different rabbit holes, of course you can't look at reality around you the same. So you're just like, oh my God, you're doing what to try to quit?
And a lot of people are probably, now the best time to implement a good system would be like during building design or construction. A lot of people in another bucket, a lot of people are looking at retrofitting, like, well, I've got a home, it just isn't like efficient, or I want to incorporate Bitcoin one way or another.
Yeah.
So it's really case by case. Every home is different. And is that where you might recommend, okay, contact John, you can go to schedule a consultation, and then you can look at, okay, for your situation here, one, does it make sense? Two, what's maybe the best approach to do it?
Yeah, and I'm always like, I'm a little bit on the fence about like, actually I won't be on the fence because there's been, it's always kind of a controversial thing over time. Like I was just rambling on about, right? And it's no offense to anybody that does it, of course, who's watching me, people out there, our friends or whatever, we're all Bitcoiners, but it's like, if you like go through the exercise, like no, I shouldn't even say it that way. To each their own, and to whatever. If you know the science and you know what you're doing, or if you know your HVAC and you know whatever, or you want to just, or what I'm talking about here, you can go ahead and do it. Like, oh, I want to plug it into my regular I want to plug it into my regular furnace system so that unit moves the hot air around my house, which is kind of like, or we want, there are electric, an actual by the big manufacturers or whoever electric furnace type thing and they're out there too in niche spots and people are doing it, right? But it's just like the miners are the core, the miners are producing the heat, right? But they don't function like the same way as like heat pumps or a gas furnace, which can give you like tons of BTUs in like a minute, 5 minutes versus a whole lot, the same over an hour.
Right.
Like the science doesn't like exactly work as far as like a furnace. So I kick it on. Well, it's not warm in 5 minutes. That's, but like,
people think about, these are for like larger air or water cool systems. And I was at a conference and it's like, oh, there's a hot tub heated by miners. Conceptually, it's cool and simple, but realistically, it's not like you're going to just heat a hot tub with miners. It's got to be kind of a supplemental system, right?
Well, no, you always can, but it's more about like the battle of the best way to run a miner is to run it 24/7. But what is your electricity cost, and how is your electric, back to that whole like individual questionnaire. Well, I have a thing that just same amount no matter how much I spend. Oh, okay. I have a thing that's when I get to certain levels, they double the price on me. Oh, I have a thing that's like we have solar, and then whatever's backed up, I don't sell. Now I can keep all that and not sell it to the electric company. Oh, that's good, cool. But like back to sort of like like you were talking about just that question a minute ago before I get too far offline. But yeah, you're like, what do I do if I want to retrofit? What do I do if I have a home, right? So it's like that's that weird balance of, okay, if you know what you're doing and you really know what you're doing and you want to like plug the exhaust ducts from the miner into your system, and then this is the key part, run your fan from that system on auto, full on, 24/7, or as long as the miners are running, because you got to keep the air moving, right? So whenever you're running the miners, you got to be running your full HVAC fan only setting, which is fine because they are designed to run continuously, but continuously for 12 years. Whatever, so many years, but it's going to eventually die, and it's going to die faster if you run it continuously because so many total hours, let's say. Let's not get into minutia, right? But so you've got the electricity of running that pump or that fan, and then you've got how much sooner it will cost you to buy a new one.
All right.
Just to consider, not like it's right or wrong. Again, this is kind of like people are going to,
there's a lifespan.
This is a 50-50 discussion on things, right? Okay. Or you can just not tap it in, somehow have the miner set up on the intake to that central fan and have that be moving the air through it and not have to like actually drill or cut into the ducts or do anything, worry about that. So for the resale of the home or for later,
right,
you want it all tied in. Or maybe you just now, because we're up to this point and you got like the Canon ones and all the others where to have the radiator, simple standalone plug and play. Now I'm just going to buy a couple radiators, put them in my basement area and let the air naturally circulate.
Yeah.
Or the whole house air exchanger, which is much better for your health. With like 5 minutes ago, we were talking about bringing in fresh air and exhausting stale air. Well, that's not for every human being. Do I want to live in a box that's just my own breath forever, or wear a mask for it? Like, it's the same. I don't want to breathe my own exhaust. I don't want to live in my own kitchen exhaust or bathroom exhaust, no matter how good my bath fan is. And hopefully that bath fan exhausts to the outside. 60% of the world's bath fans are going up into their attic or whatever and hoping that it's going to move with the air in the attic. Yeah. Because the attic is mostly unconditioned, we call it. Above the insulation is the outside world, right? Because you got the vents in most typical roofs, unless you insulate your attic and make that into conditioned space. That, you look at that classic picture of a house, you either have the whole thing conditioned or you have everything but the attic space conditioned.
Right.
Our value between resistance to heat travel from either the hot outside trying to get in, because hot's only moving to cold. Hot's either trying to get in the summer and you're taking the hot and throwing it back outside with your air conditioner as fast as you can. The least resistance you have to that heat, the faster that air conditioner is going to have to work to grab the heat. Now, if it's coming through your window that's single pane and the whole thing is single pane and you leave it open to the sun every day, air conditioner is never going to keep up with that BTU, right? So on and on down that rabbit hole, that physics design, there's only so much, and then that comes back to, well, the architect has to do this, and this to meet codes. Why do they have to have code? Well, the California code, energy codes, to push the efficiencies of anything. Why is there a 16 air conditioner now? Because someone back then said 8 isn't good enough. It's everything else. This isn't good enough. Well, how can you have 16 more million people move and still keep the same energy consumption? You make the things more efficient. But how do you do that? Is everybody just going to volunteer? Well, probably not, right? So like,
right, yeah, right,
first person mentality or a drive energy efficiency into the discussion of what's it's all just math and numbers in the end, and bottom line, like, how can I live here with this? Well, I'm gonna look up in my attic and I'm gonna say I have this much drywall between me and 119 degrees. What's happening? Hot's moving to cold. Got to insulate that. So now
right.
I've made it really nice and tight, and I've stopped all that movement of heat. But now what's happening to the air I breathe inside?
Right.
I got to bring something in and out so that I can breathe fresh air that's filtered through a HEPA filter, through a system that takes the heat or the cold energy, brings in the fresh, cold, or whatever, that's inside a cell. That's basically a heat exchanger that's making sure you're not bringing in too much hot or too much cold, depending on the season. So now we're back to that. So now we've got a nice clean house, a house that's heated either with the miner in one place circulating air, or possibly part of that heat exchange system. In the winter, the miner is just in line with the incoming fresh air.
Gotcha.
Or you got, so we did. So this is like the part where when I was out west and I was deep into this building science and doing it every day and had access to all those things and was R&D-ing it with, let's put it in a big, whatever, all those things are still valid. They're just kind of like the industry and the world hasn't like caught up to saying where they can place miners. And that brings us back to like the Satoshi thing. It's out there on the world. It's doing its own thing. There's the space in Denver. There's heatpunks.org or .net or all that's on my webpage. There's a million easy ways to just dive. If you're a person under the DIY or whatever, or reach out or but that's kind of the thing.
Heatpunks.org.
Yeah, heatpunks.org. Yeah, exactly. So
everybody
just like me, we're all just like never shut up. We're all just too much information. We're all just whatever we could do. We're passionate. We're heat pumps, and we're trying to get that thing simple enough. Like, is it? There's coffee warmers, right? There's everything.
Yeah, right.
We've got to the Gecko Science made that one. There's too many to name, and everybody's doing stuff that helps it out, right? The software management. Somebody's on firmware. Somebody's on pools that are doing, right? Everybody's doing stuff in all the right directions, as we always do as Bitcoiners. So that's like, I'm not by any means stepping away from the heating stuff. I'm more like I've just been talking with, we can't say things until deals are done, right? But like people making some food stuff, or that was way back. We used to say hashing to eating, all the landfill stuff, all the other super greeny stuff that's dear to my heart from saving big amounts of energy is also tied to the heating, right? So, okay, now we got a landfill thing.
Yeah.
What if there's a local community near the landfill that we get a stacked greenhouse container company to be next to, and now they can feed the local community better through the food that's produced during whatever, so it depends on the placement, of course, if it's a cold place or not, but all the things that are bigger, not big, different or connected to or adjacent to the heat part, I love to look to that next, thing now, and hopefully, find partners to work with this or set this automated a little more, kind of this is still going in a lot of directions, but I love the R&D.
And for that's great. And for larger systems, you can build things to scale where, landfills just for, I don't know, decades, they generate heat and methane or whatever. There's a place across the river from where I live that's a large mulching site where they have various types of compost and mulch and whatever. And it's interesting because in the winter, deep cold freeze of winter, and those big piles of just wood chips and compost are warm and steaming. And so
there's unlimited, that's the take home message. There's unlimited potentials, and there's back to like for the kids or for anybody, young people that looking at this world, like what to do, right? It's like, well, find ways to get into captured methane, turn the captured methane into either carbon credits and or running generators to mine Bitcoin to put the heat back into something else on the same site. All these things are very cyclical, very closed loop, very circular economy. And there's probably, like, that's the thing, when it's all over in these folders, right? But people would come at me with like, here's this way you can justify carbon credit thing to industry. If they get more than this many kilowatts saved, they can file this thing, they can file that. So now with all the AI ability to help to build a business, to do all that, if you're looking to do a business, there is arbitrage, there is energy contract stuff on big scales, there is it's crazy unlimited. There is like you say, the compost, like there's been, this was years and years ago, like all these things all just fired at once in the beginning. Was like, oh, there's a guy in Mexico, right, that like takes the pig manure, right? And now they used to dump the pig manure in the river because they didn't have regulations. And now
nice,
different,
it goes away,
things happen. Well then it causes algae blooms, then it causes fish kills, then it causes this, then it causes that, because there's too much. So now they get the nitrogen there. Now the guy collects it. Now they compost the methane. Now they run the heat from the miners through the waste to make it hotter, to make it the right temperature, to make more methane, to run the generator longer, make more Bitcoin. So now the local community doesn't have to deal with the cartels. Now so and so and so and so. Right. So this is the arbitrage that's like crazy out there. And it's just a matter of like, you said, young people looking into whatever it is. Like if you can find free or cheap energy, and you want to do something with heating, food production, or drying beef, or drying whatever, or heating the agricultural buildings, or anything,
your greenhouse or whatever.
Your small one. I mean, Rev Hodl is a perfect example. There's the integration of permaculture, Bitcoin mining, heating greenhouses, composting, worm composting, raising rabbits, food production. It's all the same thing. It's
worm bins. Worms generate heat.
All that.
And it gets into the discussion around just energy, because I mean, there's really dumb FUD out there, but about, well, Bitcoin just uses energy. Bitcoin, just wastes energy. There is so much wasted energy out there now, site by site. Yeah, sure. But like our landfills in this area, as they're building them or filling them or seal them off, they've got pipes in them. And I think they just vent it, but there's just a pipe or pipes that come out of the ground and they just off gas, I guess, methane or whatever. And they were talking about, well, it's for a big enough site, that's just unburnt methane or methane that's going to vent anyway. And they're talking about burning that or using that, or, I mean, it's like, and there's also,
I'll give you the, look up a guy, if you want to look it up real quick on Twitter. It's, Troy's my buddy. I know.
Well,
Troy.
So not to interrupt you, but I met Troy Cross in Portland a couple of times at Bitcoin conferences and with the Bitcoin Policy Institute. So this is like good research he's done where, basically how Bitcoin mining reduces carbon emissions and also the energy use, all the things. But anyway, not to interrupt you,
go ahead. Well, everybody's all linked, of course, and there's only so many people doing so many things. But like, I don't know if you know Daniel Batten. It's DS
Daniel Batten.
Daniel Batten, if you want to look him up, CH4 Fund, I believe. And I'll just, if you want to find him real quick on Twitter. But Daniel is probably the most prolific anti-energy FUD person that I could think of, other than some of the other just anti-FUD ones. But like, that whole entire fund, the whole entire thing for the last probably 5 years or more that I've been, it's kind of, if we could always duplicate ourselves and stay up 24/7 and all that stuff and do all the things, we would. But his thing is all the methane. It's landfill focused only. It's basically, you find landfills that want to do it, they're going to pay them X amount for the gas. They're going to, so the 3-minute summary of the landfill situation is, if they're close enough to the regular pipelines, they can pipe it in after it's cleaned up. Yes, all landfills produce methane. So it can either go directly to the atmosphere, the worst, burned in flare, second worst, just like everything on the oil fields is being done, right? So it's the same stuff. Like we're going to stop this thing from flaring, which is, if we let it go straight up, it's the worst, quote unquote, if you believe in those things. But now with whatever's happening in the EPA, I don't want to get too political, but if, at one point there was law that was directing, there's Daniel. At one point there was a law directing, and how long it stayed, too far into speculation. But at this point, I still think it's on the books that there is a law that's directing all landfills by a certain year in the United States to comply with either capturing and putting into the pipeline, burning. They can no longer vent directly to the atmosphere after a certain time, right? So if you're in a rural spot, it costs, like, say, $100 million to put in the stack thing, or one, and operate it, 100,000 or whatever. The numbers are there. I'm not best on the numbers. Let's call it $1 million and 100,000 a year to operate it, to burn. Well, they can't. How are they going to get that from the local taxpayers that are already in bad shape? Problem.
Right.
Well, let's let a Bitcoin mining company come in and pay you for that gas. Now they've got a revenue stream. Now they can have some, and 1% of the miner, Bitcoin mined, or whatever it is. Okay, step one. So that's his whole, that's his whole entire thing. You can check all that out, tons of stuff. But as far as a FUD fighter, that's the way to do it. And you can act, anybody on earth, if you go through their proper channels, can become another thing for the kids that I've just never gotten around to doing, right? It's like, just call a million there's landfillfinder.com. There's there's businesses everywhere. Call them, get to the decision maker, get them to commit to being interested, get with Daniel's thing, $5,000 per 5 megawatts, make money. Like, money is out there to be made everywhere. If people have the business skills or the cold call skill or whatever it is, that I'm just like I said, like a hub, or like, could do this if I had this time or this time, but opportunities are unlimited, and they're just everywhere around Bitcoin mining.
Oh yeah, there is so much sequestered site specific and patterns to all this that, I think miners are, and they're moving into it, but just it makes sense for companies or even public entities and mining companies to be moving in on all these little spaces. I live here.
And the big, like, heating that's the trick of it, is we're back all the way back to the beginning, I guess, because buildings consume 70% of all the energy that we are using, or whatever, and plus industrial processes, which of course need hot. Well, that aside, all kinds of processes are using a lot of energy that could be supplemented or interjected with the Bitcoin miners' heat energy, right? So, and now we're right at coming up towards the end a little bit here. And so this is the teaser and the fun thing. And it's Schnitzel and all these, these are things from old heat pump days. We met back in the Swan thing they had at the Total Bear Market a couple years ago, at, the first one in Santa Monica or something. And it's like, that's kind of where the heat punky thing came.
Was that Pacific Bitcoin?
Yeah, the first one. And there's a bunch of these guys are all at the table, and the things spilling the fluid or whatever, and we're mopping it up with towels and blah blah blah. And like, I didn't think we were gonna bring a thing. Oh yeah, I brought one anyway. Like, it's like kind of, whatever it was. And I was like, you bunch of heat pumps. Like, it's like, look at all these, like, a bunch of heat pumps here. Like, guys, like, stuff's dripping, and like, no, it's gonna be something, And so we would get in those discussions about the idea of making cold with heat. So we just
Uh-huh.
talked 15 minutes about all these natural laws, which are all true, 100% true. But we can also, as humans with our technological brains, right, we can make leaps, and we can use a bunch of technology and chemistry and other physics that are beyond me, but I know that they, right? So, but they exist, right? So it's like, we could do whatever, but can John design it or do it? Maybe not, right? But now we've got AI helping with with design and things, right? And people. So flashback to then and flashback to after that. We always, had these back and forth, just, creative Tesla versus Edison thing of, well, you shouldn't bring the hot liquid back and forth to the tank. You should bring the water back and forth to an exchanger. Well, you should do, you're doing the same thing somewhere, but you're just using different designs or ways to go about it. Like the Russian jet versus America. Well, they fly with this, and this is No one knows what's right. Both of them fly.
Right.
Both get the heat from the miner to the thing and keep the thing hashing and get the heat there, which is the most safest, which is the most this, which is the best as it doesn't matter. So we would go round and round about that just as creative people do. But we also came around this whole idea of, and here's the cat out of the bag moment. Go get it, kids. Go get it everywhere. This is open sourcey, but we also wish same thing. Get the technology to the world. Sure, I'd like to make $1 zillion. Sure, I'm working on it myself with certain friends, but sure, I wish everyone would work on it tomorrow.
Sure.
Johnson Controls, absorption chilling, so on and so on. I got to, I'll share you the paper, but essentially it comes to this. There are massive industrial scale equipment that cools subways, cools malls, cools large places, cools buildings and things in New York, because they can't shut the boilers down all summer because it's more efficient to run something that's a gas boiler all the time than it is to shut it, but they ramp it way, way, way down. So they make steam all year.
Right.
There's many, many places, industrial spaces, where they have an exhaust from a certain engine. They hot water from a certain process, whatever it is. Okay. All absorption chilling. We went around, and absorption chilling takes a hot stream of waste, maybe from anywhere. It doesn't matter what produces it. If you have a hot spring on your thing and it's boiling, whatever it produces of what, but it has to be above a certain temperature, 70 degrees C, which is super hot.
Okay.
In Fahrenheit, 70 degrees C or above is the minimum. Anything hotter than that, all the way up, makes it better. And there's different models. Let's not get too complicated. Absorption chillers take a hot stream, use either water and silica and other things, or ammonia. That's the problem. It's ammonia on the industrial scale, but on the small scale, it's theorized that it can work with using other components. But it's not there. 30-ton cooler is the smallest that's made commercially now. Once they transition to water-cooled miners and water-cooled chips, we can now get the temperature way hotter than when it was air-cooled with fans.
Okay.
So now, is 70 degrees or higher achievable? We argued back and forth for a long time. Well, you can only get it to this high with the chip. You're still going to have to supplement with more energy. Does that make sense on paper to drive this process? Yes, it makes sense on paper now. Yes, it makes sense through all the models. Yes, it makes sense to try to do an R&D on a smaller scale with certain qualifications and with certain things, hurdles that might need, but grokked out, GBT'd out, and talk, things to a certain point. Same as that. It's the same as that one you brought up in the very beginning, the little fan in a box.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this could happen and can happen. Everybody has a different way of maybe doing it or whatever. Hashing to cooling is in the same point of its life as that right there was years ago. So can you drive a chiller and imagine Latin America, imagine the whole Sun Belt, which I started the conversation about. Well, I like to live in warm places. I came down here to live in Florida last year for various personal reasons, and I looked around and my friend said, "Oh, I have a chiller for my pool." I said, "What?" She goes, "Oh, look at it on the side of the house. It's an outdoor heat pump unit that runs water through it. And in reverse, and in the summer, they put a chiller on it." Okay, well, I got the winter part covered, running through the miner. What happens in the summer? Well, I have to run my electric bill to cool my pool. They literally cool the pool because it gets to 95 degrees, the water gets to 95 degrees. So if you're wealthy, you run your pool through a chiller. Now, if that chiller could run from the heat from the miner. So get it, kids. Go get it, world, because that's a bazillion dollar idea that one has.
Yeah, and it's not intuitive. It makes sense when, in cold environments, generating heat and putting that in a cool area, and just it's obvious. But to cool something, when you're generating heat, but then you use that heat differential to cool something, that's less intuitive to people. And
it's almost impossible. And the easiest way to comprehend it is this way. And the simplest way that we can visualize it is we've all maybe been in an RV. We've all rented an RV or some whatever, or your van life or whatever it is. But if you ever go in an RV or if you ever go to a cabin somewhere and they go, oh, I have a refrigerator, but I'm off grid. It runs on propane.
Right.
What? And of course, you're a normie or whatever. You're oh, okay.
Propane. Yeah. How does a propane flame cool a refrigerator?
You might think to yourself, oh, well, mistaken, which I almost thought at certain points. I go, oh, it must just have a little teeny generator in there. Comes on, takes the gas, makes electricity, runs the fridge. Maybe. That seems weird, because then there's a generator, and where's the exhaust going?
Is that efficient? Right. Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. And I never heard about a place. So, it is a flame. Okay, so then you go and look at the actual system. It is a little flame. And it comes back to talked about those laws. You can only remove heat, you can't create cold. So the regular heat pump or air conditioner, as we used to call it, grabs the hot from inside your house, doesn't grab it. The heat moves to cold. So I guess I should actually speak correctly. The heat does what it's going to do. It moves to cold because there's a cold fluid running through the heat exchanger that's inside your house. It's made cold by the compressor outside, which compresses that gas back in. That's the part that I always get backwards, because it's like a fluid when it comes. It's a gas when it comes through your house. The heat goes into the gas. No, it's a liquid when it comes through cold. The heat goes into the liquid, starts to boil it. It comes back outside. The heat gets let off the boiling liquid or refrigerant into the outside world. That's when the fan kicks on and does the outside heat exchange, pushes that heat back in the atmosphere out there. The compressor then uses electricity or energy to compress that gas back into a liquid, send it back into your house to take the heat back out again. Okay, so now that compressor is doing the work to transfer the liquid back into gas back into a liquid, I guess. Or no, it's the other way around, liquid into a gas, because it would
liquid to gas, yeah.
I always get that wrong, but look on the graphic, look on the thing. That's just how they work. It's actually the other way around, I guess, because in the propane example, you're using the heat from the flame to reboil that water.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So that's the energy consumed, the same as it would be like if you burned that same amount of energy in a generator, put it to electricity, ran your normal fridge or your normal compressor heat pump. You're now using the flame to do that, right? So then you go, okay, that means that if you scaled that to another point, you could use heat energy to drive the cooling, to drive that process in the heat pump in that instance. And so these bigger things called absorption chillers are just doing that drive process in a different way, but they're using the same principle, right? And then so now you go to say, oh, these new hydro miners are capable of 75C direct output, as long as you have the design correct and you can deliver that 70 plus or more to the absorption chiller, it's going to spit out cold. In a black box type of sense. This comes to this, it does this with it, it comes back 10 degrees cooler, it cools the miners. Well, what if you need to now do whatever you want with that world? So
it's hard to get your mind around because the science of that stuff, what does compressing a gas do, and what are the dynamics of that anyway? But yeah, it's cool.
It's hard. I'm going to roll in a couple minutes, Fritz.
Yeah, you've got a hard stop. So and so I want to bring people to your website, and let me bring that up real quick.
And so we can do another one, because this has been really fun. And
well, there's so much to talk about in this area. I have other questions, and we just don't have time for it, because there's some really cool things to talk about. You can go to hashing2heating.com. You're providing consultations for people, and your whether it's DIY or plug and play or the basic burger or beyond, depending on what people approach you with, you can consult on that.
Any level. If I don't know it, I'll find you the right person. If I can help you, we'll try to work together. It's simple.
Yeah, and a ton of resources that you have here. If you go to you know, if you just go to on the website, DIY home hashing, there is a ton of resources here to learn and look into things. And then of course, there are the heat punks. Where'd that go? No, that's not it.
Oh yeah, there's just
the heat punks.
Yeah, there's heat punks. There's all, you know, there's discords on, I mean, if not Discord, what's the other one? Telegrams. I mean, yeah, it's a giant niche. And there's, if you're into all these spaces, like a lot of us are, you know, there's telegrams on Home Mining Wizard, Immersion Wizards, ones for the Loki boards. Everybody's got their special thing. People are breaking down old S19s, making them simple plugins. Like, you know, it's just,
yeah. So there is so many resources to learn from, and so many directions you could go, but you're doing, you've learned a lot and are doing a lot, and every situation is different, but it's a wealth of knowledge that you have. And yeah. Oh, here, somebody says they heat their home with Bitcoin miners. Garaban. Yeah. Good job, Garaban. So anyway, I'll let you go, but yeah, we'll have to get together again and talk more down some rabbit holes here, because there's a lot.
It's been a pleasure, man. And I'm hoping this is kicking off like a new chapter, you know, as far as, anyway, we get into some other backstories later, but I was very prolific, and then that took a little bit of time, and now I'm trying to be a little more prolific as far as, you know,
awesome.
talking and getting out there. So
yeah. Good practice to do here, and like the origin story and everything, everywhere you're going and what's happening, what's coming. So
yeah,
we will talk more about that next time. But yeah, thanks for joining me, John, and thanks everybody else
thanks for your work, man. You're killing it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It's been fun.
See you next time.
All right. Bye.